Isn't such a fancy hotel out of place for someone like you who only finished middle school? My sister-in-law, who was inexplicably mean only to me, was at it again with her spiteful remarks. As usual, I quietly contained my feelings and held back. When I bowed my head in silence, my husband immediately spoke up in my defense. The next moment, the room froze. I'm Nellie. Summer vacation is approaching. The classroom buzzes with noise. The teacher's storytelling resonates pleasantly, like a lullaby. Large white clouds float in the sky. I'm dozing off, wondering if spotting contrails brings good luck. I love language classes because they're interesting and I get to hear various stories. Now Nellie, please read this question. It's my turn. Wait, how do you read this again? I desperately searched through my memory but couldn't find it. I'm sorry, how do you read this? I asked in a small voice. The teacher looked exasperated, and my friend turned to me, mouthing "stupid" with a laugh. I did it again. I like languages, but I never said I was good at them. I'm also not good at sports. Especially in sprinting, no matter how hard I try, I can't run fast. I've practiced running at full speed with Papa on the road in front of our house several times, but it didn't help much. My Papa is funny and kind. Though we weren't exactly well off, my beloved Mama and Papa always put me first and cherished me. Our breakfast and dinner weren't fancy, but we were a close family who enjoyed gathering around the table, sharing stories about our day. Wanting to help support my family's finances, I decided to start working after finishing middle school. When the magnolias were in full bloom, I proudly became a working adult. With my first paycheck, I promised to take Mama and Papa out for a delicious steak dinner. This promise, made under the magnolia tree, became my first goal as a working adult. From day one, there was constantly something new to learn, and before I knew it, each day would end, passing by in a busy blur. My fellow newcomers were wonderful companions, and my supervisors were very kind. Samuel, who was 4 years older, always looked out for me and handled work so smoothly that he became someone I admired. When the long-awaited payday arrived, I took Mama and Papa to a steakhouse my supervisor had recommended to fulfill my promise. It was our first time going to such an upscale steakhouse together, and though we were nervous at first, we soon melted into the delicious meat and comfortable atmosphere. Thank you, Nellie. Papa was so moved that he ended up crying loudly. Mama laughed at the sight. Though slightly embarrassing, this moment felt incredibly happy. Let's come again, we said as we left the restaurant. After that, I often took them to that restaurant for their birthdays and anniversaries. Meanwhile at work, there was still so much to learn, and though I couldn't match Samuel's expertise, it would take more time before I became fully competent. The snow melted, magnolias bloomed, maples turned red, cold winds blew, snow melted again, and magnolias bloomed once more. As the seasons changed, Samuel decided to leave the company. My admiration for him remained unspoken, scattered like magnolia petals. As those memories began to fade in early summer, I happened to stop by a cafe during my work break. While taking in the fragrant coffee aroma and the quiet interior filled with stylish background music, I noticed a certain man. That bag and that posture. How many years had it been? It must have been 3 years, but I could never forget the figure I had admired. Samuel? Before I knew it, the words slipped out, and as I stood surprised, he turned around with an bow and approached, seeming just as surprised. It turned out Samuel often visited this cafe during his breaks too. We caught up briefly, getting rather excited, and exchanged contact information. This cafe encounter became the catalyst for us spending more time together, talking and going out. After several dates, we started dating. I never dreamed I'd be dating someone I had once admired from afar, but it became reality. Though Samuel was busy with work and we couldn't meet often, I cherished the special feeling when we did. Days passed swiftly. The maple trees were beautifully stained red. Walking and feeling the seasons through the street trees remained unchanged since I first started working. I'm exhausted. I collapsed onto the sofa still in my work clothes. Even after nearly 10 years, my body hadn't gotten used to it. Lately, there had been more new things to learn, so it couldn't be helped. Instead of scolding me, Mama would kindly say, "Thank you for working hard from early morning," and set out the dinner she had prepared. Tonight's dinner was fried chicken. Drawn by the wafting aroma of my favorite fried chicken, I got up, changed clothes, and helped with dinner preparations. I shouldn't be lounging around like this. I have something important to tell Mama and Papa today. After setting out the cutlery, everything was ready. Just then, Papa came home. "Oh, fried chicken today," he said happily as his first words upon returning, quickly changing before rushing to the dinner table. Recently, with Papa's business trips and my night shifts overlapping, it had been a while since all three of us had dinner together. Hungry Papa and I started eating right away. Mama's fried chicken is definitely the best. While savoring the fried chicken in happiness, I suddenly remembered. I had something to tell my parents today. "Mama, Papa, I have something important to tell you." They looked at each other and then at me. Since it was rare for me to speak so formally, they seemed worried. Seeing their faces, I couldn't hold back and started giggling as I showed them my left ring finger. "Tata. I'm getting married." "Don't make such faces," I smiled. Their faces immediately relaxed, and Papa began his barrage of questions. "Who is he? Where's he from? What kind of person is he? How long have you been dating? Did Mama know? Was Papa the only one left out? Oh, my Nelly," he wailed loudly. It was just as I expected. Since I had already told Mama about him, she was genuinely happy, saying how wonderful it was. Next to her, Papa was being so noisy that Mama and I had to calm him down. Yes, sorry for keeping it secret. Papa won't forgive this." Despite saying such things, Papa also looked very relieved. Soon after, preparations for moving began. "All right, this is everything." I closed the last cardboard box and stacked it at the edge. The packed boxes totaled 10, fewer than I had expected. While working, we found my middle school album and diary. We looked through them, laughed heartily, and reminisced. Getting sidetracked is part of any major cleaning. Mama found my old stuffed animal. She gazed at it nostalgically and packed it into a box, telling me to take it with me. As we chatted about old times while packing, the room quickly became empty. Mama was a bit worried about me living with my husband's family right after leaving home. After all, I had grown up without ever practicing cooking. "It'll be fine, Samuel is kind. It's a bit lonely that he's not home much, but I'll manage somehow," I replied cheerfully. Not knowing what was to come. "I told you not to put that there." It was Samuel's sister, Etta. Since I arrived, Etta had been consistently cold and harsh with her words. For some reason, she didn't treat anyone else this way. Thinking the cause must be my own inefficiency and inability to do things well, I worked even harder at housework and my job. On my days off, I would visit my parents' home to learn cooking recipes from Mama. She always welcomed me with my favorite fried chicken. Going to learn cooking was just an excuse, really. I was going to taste Mama's cooking and feel the comfort of home. How's your new home? Are you managing all right? I'm worried, she would say with such genuine concern that I found myself lying. Everyone's kind, and they even compliment my cooking, I'd say. In reality, my mother-in-law and father-in-law were very good to me. Recently, my mother-in-law even taught me her specialty dishes. They also gave me advice about housework, and I tried various approaches to figure out how to handle household chores efficiently. Meanwhile, Etta continued to find fault with everything I did and attack me with cold words. Each day was spent trying to deflect these somehow. But my daily efforts weren't in vain, as I became capable enough at housework to earn praise from my father-in-law, mother-in-law, and Samuel. When I served the new potato salad recipe I learned from my mother-in-law, it was a huge hit with my father-in-law and Samuel. However, Etta's attitude didn't change at all. If anything, her choice of words and expressions had become stronger, seeming to escalate from how they were at first. One day, as I was getting dressed to go out, the door suddenly opened. "Please knock," I exclaimed sharply, startled. But Etta paid no attention and deliberately pushed work onto me. Though quite irritated, I still finished the assigned tasks. As I was fixing my appearance at the entrance, ready to leave quickly, she came all the way there to say, "Where are you going in such cheap clothes?" I felt terrible and wanted to talk back. Suppressing those feelings, I managed a polite smile and left the house, judging that arguing would only make things complicated later. But it was my favorite outfit. Even when I try my best, hearing such things makes me want to give up. When the criticism extends beyond housework and work to unrelated matters, it really takes a toll on my mental health. I was reaching my limit. I wanted to talk to Samuel about it, but he comes home tired from work every day, and I didn't want to worry him unnecessarily. Right now, I wanted him to focus on his work. I just silently waited for time to pass. Around the time I was getting used to my sister-in-law's coldness, Samuel proposed having a wedding ceremony. I was so happy that before I knew it, something was running down my cheeks. I was confused by my own sudden tears. Seeing me like this, Samuel gently embraced me, saying, "Sorry for making you wait." Once that was decided, everything moved quickly. We planned to go choose the dress and venue on the weekend, and while I was excited, it was short-lived. For some reason, my sister-in-law came along that day and kept rejecting everything I suggested. My dream wedding dress. I chose a fluffy white princess line dress that made me feel elevated just by itself. Samuel was smiling, saying it suited me, so we decided quickly. It was really lucky that Etta happened to be in the bathroom at that time. Samuel chose the venue. Of course, I agreed, but Etta wouldn't stay quiet. "Isn't such a fancy hotel out of place for Nellie, even if it suits Samuel?" she said spitefully. "After all, she's just a middle school graduate who grew up poor, right? She's not on our level," she continued mockingly. Here we go again. I must endure, I thought, bowing my head in silence, when Samuel immediately spoke up. "Hey, Etta. That's no way to talk. Besides, this is Nellie's hotel. Education and upbringing don't matter." The room froze. Etta stood there, unable to process the situation. I nervously opened my mouth. I'm actually the manager of this hotel." I explained how I had worked continuously since graduating middle school, and through recognition of my dedicated work, had become the manager. Though it was embarrassing to talk about myself, I was able to do so because Samuel was there beside me with a serious expression. Looking at Etta, I saw her make a very frustrated face before trying to run away. Samuel caught her arm. "Etta, wait. What's with that attitude?" Samuel quietly questioned her. "Has it been like this all along? Why do you treat Nellie this way?" At this, Etta's eyes turned red as she glared at me and Samuel. "Why, you ask?" Etta took a breath. She looked like she would cry if she continued speaking. She swallowed her words and tears once, roughly wiped away the tears that had welled up, and continued forcefully. "I'm good at everything, studies, work, sports, everything. So why is there no one around me?" Her shout gradually weakened and became quieter. Feeling uncomfortable, I instinctively offered her my handkerchief. Etta snatched it and wiped her tears and nose. After calming down a bit, she quietly began speaking. "I'm sorry for being so pathetic," she mumbled, still looking away. In the same tone, she confessed that she had been jealous of me and had been mean to me out of envy. Hearing this, I felt happy, as if I had gained a real sister. The fact that she took the handkerchief I offered and used it to wipe her tears and nose showed me she had an honest and adorable side. Seeing this new aspect of Etta made me feel a bit relieved. If I said that, she probably wouldn't speak to me again. On the way home, thinking we might have gotten a bit closer after what happened, I tried talking to her about various things, only to be told, "Don't get carried away." But her voice was different from before, with a hint of laughter. That evening, when I called out, "Dinner's ready," while setting the table, Etta was the first to arrive. She silently helped set the table. When I expressed my thanks, she just replied, "It's nothing special." But even that was enough progress. The steady rain had completely stopped, and the sun was shining brilliantly. My wedding day was blessed with clear skies. As I was getting ready in my dress, Mama and Papa were excitedly fussing around, looking at me a bit sadly. "Nellie, you're beautiful," Mama gently caressed my cheek while Papa stood beside her, crying and calling my name. Thinking what a noisy family they were, I said, "Papa, you're too loud," as Mama and I tried to calm him down, savoring this family moment. Since the ceremony was about to begin, Mama and Papa left to make other preparations. While I was quietly reflecting on my memories alone in the waiting room, there was a knock at the door. "Yes?" I answered, turning around to find Etta standing there. Wondering if something was missing in the preparations, information raced through my mind. As I was flustering, Etta chuckled and said just one thing, "You look beautiful," before leaving the waiting room. I sat back down, relieved. And I smiled, knowing that the distance between Etta and me was surely shrinking bit by bit. "Nellie, you're beautiful." Before I knew it, Samuel was sitting in front of me, and we both laughed at my surprised, confused expression. So much had happened to get here. It felt both long and like just a moment. I think this is my starting point. Though I don't know what awaits us, I'm sure everything will be fine. Shall we go? Samuel's extended hand was dazzling. I felt like I could go anywhere holding this hand. Spring sunlight streams through the window, illuminating the room. The faint background music from the TV program and the rhythmic sound of vegetables being chopped flow through the air. The clock had passed noon. Just the salad left to prepare and everything would be perfect. While preparing lunch, I heard a loud noise and hurried to check the living room, where I found Samuel dramatically fallen over and scattered blocks. "Ah!" Papa lost. Samuel happily acknowledged his defeat while our daughter looked delighted with her victory. I burned this happy scene into my memory, sincerely wishing such happiness would continue forever. What are you doing? Dinner's almost ready. At my words, they both responded cheerfully and began cleaning up the room. The doorbell rang, and when I opened the door, there stood Etta. Here you go, she said, handing over our daughter's favorite snacks before bustling into the house. It's Etta. Our daughter jumped at her excitedly, and Etta lifted her up, saying, "How cute." She had become a doting aunt rather than just a sister-in-law. Somewhere along the way, we had completely forgotten any awkwardness between us. We'd go shopping together, she'd buy toys for my daughter, and we had become like real sisters. I think it was all thanks to my daughter. They say children are angels, and I feel that's absolutely true every day. I'm expecting my second child now. These sparkling days seem likely to continue for quite some time to come.